Hey guys, this is the FPL Tips team, and we're back with another video where we're discussing 5 more teams from which you should consider attacking or defending assets, or probably not consider them. We'll straight dive into the video where we discuss looking at the fixture ticker, discuss the first team that is top of the ticker, which is Aston Villa. I have my particular thoughts and probably conservative thoughts about it, especially Watkins and Bailey. They're probably the two attackers that we should consider. What do you think, Achilles? They're top of the ticker. What is your opinion on them?
Brilliant set of fixtures, except for probably the second game week where they have Arsenal at home. But other than that, around they have some really good fixtures, home and away, and they have assets that can be really put thought into and be considered into your teams, especially some of them who are enablers also who could become certain options. The one factor is that playing Arsenal at home in game week 2 and West Ham away in game week 1 might slightly put people off the getting Aston Villa assets in the game week 1 draft and maybe transferring them in. So that's another discussing talking point around Aston Villa as well.
Uh, I agree to you. I was just thinking the hop on and off sort of situation for Aston Villa because they kind of pair with Newcastle if you want them to, because they have Newcastle have two good fixtures, then sort of two middling fixtures, then go to Fulham, then Man City. Uh, you can do that with Newcastle. You can have Isaac, then switch to Watkins, but that's sort of committing to a transfer. And when you see, I've already limited at fixtures only till game week 8. Personally, I'm looking only till game week 6, which is probably my wildcard window. And we'll get into attack why I feel Watkins probably is not necessary, even though he's such a talismanic player for Aston Villa. So when you look at the data here, they have Watkins and now Bailey. Bailey is something that I'm sort of comparing him to because he's nailed on. He's in midfield. He's a cheaper price at bracket. So he's probably your only way into getting into the Aston Villa attack. And when you look at the data, it's not that bad for him given his minutes were so low and the chances and the role he was given was so low. At the end of the season, he was sort of different. He was given the authority to attack, get inside the box. He was shooting outside the box a lot. His low XG goals were going in. And I think he will sort of continue that form and makes him a good pick and an alternative to Watkins. You don't probably expect that output, but I think there's something to consider there.
Yes, I think Bailey will be a very exciting option this season given his price, and he will be fitting into most drafts more so than Watkins, as you mentioned, at 9 million. And it's a coin toss between Watkins and having a Haaland draft. If you are going with a Haaland draft, then you can't have a Watkins and an Isak in that team. That's definitely a point to consider. And Watkins last season had 19 goals and 18 assists. Whether he's going to be able to repeat that, probably not. He might score a little more goals and a little less assists because his assists, I think he had an expected assist last season of around 4, and then he got 18 assists, which is a huge overperformance, and also overperformed in the goal chart. So there is a thought, and you can't expect Watkins to do exactly what he did last season. But the fixtures are good. Watkins is their frontline man, and he will be playing most of the time. And he will be an important. He's an important link for Unai Emery's Aston Villa. He links up well with all the attackers around him, and also comes and gets his goals. So he is definitely a very good option worth considering. But with the fixtures in the first 2 game weeks, I think with Haaland's fixtures, it's just a tough decision to make it to leave Watkins out.
Personally, he's out for my team, and and the reason why I probably consider that sort of option and situation is when you look at the pen touches per 90. This is for the season. When you look at the shots inside the box, there's not much distinguishable difference. Obviously, that you need to factor in, take in the caveat that Watkins is a huge overperformer, generally has been. So he will still continue to overperform and outperform his stats. But I think Bailey stands a good chance because he was so in and out the team last season. Now he's sort of more settled. He's guaranteed minutes. So he'll be more regular. I think that will impact his performance. And I'm ready to take the chance of starting with him. And if things go bad, then maybe Isaac to Watkins is probably my backup plan and sort of like the cushion that I have right now.
Yes, I think it's a good cushion to have with two away fixtures in the first 3 games, a home fixture against Arsenal, and then you can move out your Newcastle uh, assets to Aston Villa assets. That's a good window, as you mentioned earlier. Even with Gordon, I feel if you want to go with Gordon earlier and then have Bailey, like wait and watch and see if Bailey starting. Like there is a certain amount of uncertainty about Bailey that will be coming with him as it does come with him regularly. He does seem like an asset at a who can be a game breaker of sorts.
Yeah.
But he also does seem an asset who could also frustrate you with maybe injuries, with getting early substitutions, and at a point where you do have some really nice assets. If you pay point 0.5 or 1 million more, there could be alternatives to be taken over there. So Bailey also for me is a wait and watch, and I don't think I will be having him in my game week 1 draft yet.
Okay, and last up before we switch on to their defense, what's your thoughts on Rogers? A lot of people considering that 5 million option. Sort of people are also considering to play regularly and put him in their top 11 as to say. Do you think he's a viable sort of outlet to start with? I really personally don't think so.
I feel like he is underpriced. Definitely, 5 million for him is not the like. I would have expected him to be at 5.5 along with McGinnis, along with the others who are around him. But Rogers did end last season on a high, and it's similar to I think Jacob Ramsey, who like a
Yeah.
couple of seasons back ended on a high, and then was priced a little more. But given Jacob Ramsey, he was also a very good player for Aston Villa, got injured, and he might also be back. So that might be a rotation concern. But I think Rogers does look in line to start, and like we will get more information in the preseason games and whether
Okay.
he's playing at number 10 or where what his sort of position is. At 5 million, I think he's a good enabler, but I personally am not confident fielding in a 5 million as my fourth asset. Maybe if I have like some price in the bench and I'm open to doing that, maybe I'll have him doing a rotation with someone else. But I would not have him as my fourth midfielder. I'd rather have him as my fifth midfielder with three forwards also being there. So that's my thoughts around Marlon Rogers, and he could be a good game-breaking asset as well if he
Yeah.
does play at number 10, does get more involved, and he's still very young and he can have his breakthrough season this year.
Possible. And I really don't. I think I'm a wait and watch on Rogers. I don't have much to add. But we move on to the Aston Villa defense quickly. We look back at the fixtures once again. When I look at it, I look at clean sheet fixtures, at least apart from Arsenal. Maybe Manchester United is probably another fixture where I feel it's sort of dodgy. But the other fixtures really suit Aston Villa. So I'm looking at least one defender, and I say at least one because they're cheap. They're at 4.5 most likely, most of them. And here we have on the data, we have Alex Moreno, Pau Torres, Konsa. Mings will be coming back. There's no Dini in this list, but we didn't have much data on him. So we've had them by chances created. He had, I think, 3 or 4. But here's the list. The popular pick is Konsa. Then there is Alex Moreno. I'm not sure what the situation on Alex Moreno is. Will he start? Is it not going to be him? Is Cash going to take up that place? I don't. I think Cash is sort of out of favor and will not start. Moreno is first choice, so I've added him here. But the topics are
More,
obviously Konsa and Moreno.
No, I think Moreno. I don't think is a nail pick. They have Moreno. They have Dean, and also they have Ian Matson
Yeah,
on who
Matson
to
is
fill
going
in.
to.
So Matson is 5 million, so I think he's a little more expensive. So automatically doesn't become an automatic pick until he shows up and as of nailed. But that left back spot currently doesn't look to be nailed unless we get more assurance. I don't think Alex Moreno is a go-to asset. But at 4.5 for his attacking caliber, he does come if he does get more running into the team and does look more nailed. But at the moment, I think it should be Ezri Konsa, and the other option to consider is Pau Torres. I think those two are the centre backs. I mean, Konsa could play right back as well. They are the nailed on Aston Villa assets who could be there for the taking in terms of clean sheets, maybe bonus points, and maybe a odd goal here or there. So they are the two assets I am considering for my team. Currently, I do not have any Aston Villa asset defender in my team, but they will be surely in my watch list when it comes to a 4.5 defender, given their fixtures and that you mentioned that they might be having quite a few clean sheets in the early games.
Yeah, that's probably my thought and view on them. They're decent defense, and Emery is known for having that stability. We sort of saw that more and re-emphasized that more in the end of the last season. That should continue, in my opinion. And Konsa,
Yes.
when you see, he's probably also like amongst this list of players, he's highest for goal attempts in the box. So it's not a bad output for a lucky goal whenever that happens, or probably if it happens in a double game week, sort of
Yeah.
blank game week, which could happen not early in the season. I'm not really hopeful of them because they're not a team that rely on set piece goals. They're more of an open play team, generally have been. So this is
But
what I feel. Yeah,
yes, Concert as we are looking is like expected goals and expected assists is stopping all the other defenders from Arsenal.
yeah,
Even though you have your flashy left backs in Alex Moreno and Luca Dean and all of them. Konsa does look like the person to go with given the stats as well. And there will be games where Konsa will be playing right back because, as you mentioned, Cash might not be in
yeah.
favor in most of the games. So Konsa might be playing right back, and he could, like with the way they play, he could be overlapping and getting himself into positions where he can probably chip in with an assist or two. So Konsa does look like the main option for Aston Villa. Slightly touching upon the goalkeeper as well at 5 million, Martinez is also an option a lot of people are considering, especially now that the Chelsea 4.5 asset is in doubt and
In
you don't
doubt,
know
yeah.
if you will get a 4.5 goalkeeper for Chelsea. And there are not too many 4.5 goalkeepers that are like that stand out. So, what are your thoughts about Martinez?
He's a good option given obviously the price point is a problem to me. At 5 million, if you start with him, I think it's a good option. He's good for penalty saves. He does make a lot of saves. The only problem is he's not good on bonus, especially given how Watkins and the attack is performing. That's sort of a problem to me. When you look at Flecken, it's sort of a competition between the two. Then Flecken does well on those parts as well because he makes a lot of saves. He does get into the bonus system as well. So personally, for me, that's sort of the thought process. Although I'm still to evaluate, will the new bonus system really affect that much in terms of Flecken's bonus situation? I think it will. So if that's the case and there's no bonus involved, I think Martinez makes in a better case or situation for him in comparison because he plays for the Aston Villa defense.
Yeah, I agree with you. Same thoughts on Martinez.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Crystal Palace. I think
Yep.
wonderful team to watch towards the end of last season. Exciting, starting to play very like the kind of football we never imagined Crystal Palace to play over the last few seasons, and they have been the team that has caught the eye towards the end of the season. Went on a very good run with all their attackers chipping in now with Michael Olise gone. That will be a different conversation to have. But what are your thoughts on Crystal Palace?
I think the fixtures are good to start off with. I think they will start an attack in the same sort of fashion. Will they still perform on that defensive level is sort of a concern I have. I'm not looking them as again a defensive team. They generally have been good as a defense, but I think they have started to focus more on their attacking transitions, how they sort of press, how they want to counter press the game, and that will lead to some goals. Given the fact that Munoz and Mitchell both sort of overlap and attack, it does leave some gaps in terms of attacking, especially teams who counter them. So I feel that's to start off with. That sort of will could be the situation. But I'm looking at their assets both in terms of attack and the defensive department. We'll start off with the defense, and we have the two most popular picks from the defense, which is Munoz and Mitchell. There's no reason why you shouldn't be looking at them. They're sort of good at good price point. They have the attacking threat. They create chances. They have the XG, XA, goal attempts. Personally, I've gone with Munoz, but when you look at the data, that's sort of surprising that Mitchell had more chances, created goal attempts, and sort of more involvement overall, even in terms of XGI.
This is with Mitchell full season, but Munoz half a season.
Yeah, no, it's I
Munoz
think
half a season
yeah,
has matched all of what Mitchell is in. Munoz is definitely the better asset for me. In my view, I think he does look like the more attacking, and even in eye test, if you look at him, he's like just hovering around the opponent
yeah,
box, and
opposition
especially
box.
when Crystal Palace are on position. He does look like someone who can chip in with a goal or two. If he was priced at 4.5, he would be a no-brainer in my team. But since both Mitchell and Munoz are priced at 5, I do not want to look at like certain teams where I would pay that point 0.5 million more. That's why currently it's between Anderson and Gahey for me in my team. And currently I have Anderson purely because of how he looks with his stats as well. He's matching the likes of Mitchell and Munoz with his expected goals, expected assists, and chances created. And also, he's a set piece threat. He's their main set piece threat. He can score goals in matches. And yeah, I think Anderson is someone who is worth looking at.
So I really want to sort of divert and ask you this question that when you're looking at the defensive setup, I think you have one premium, two 4.5s, and two 5 million sort of setup. Most teams, or it could be three 4.5 and two premiums. At the 5 million bracket, do you where do you see yourself as do you want to pick a Gabriel or a Porro who's slightly cheaper and Munoz matching the same price, or do you want to just let go of those three? Because I feel that Porro, given the fixtures that Tottenham start with, is actually better for both clean sheet and attacking threat than Munoz is. I really don't see that much huge potential in terms of Munoz clean sheet. Maybe attacking wise he's better, but Porro has done his fair share as well.
I am tempted by Munoz, even though he is the 5 million. I think there are not too many 5 million assets in defense. I'm tempted about, but Munoz is definitely one I am tempted to get into my team. But that being said, I think I have two premiums right now, and I would like to stick to that because I think Trent, Guardiola, and Gabriel are assets I am considering. So for that reason, I would want to have a 4.5 or 2 in my team who I can rely on and rotate and play them
Okay.
in the good fixtures. So that's why I'm going with Anderson, and his stats are good. So
Yeah, fair. I understand, and it does make sense in your terms.
yeah,
I'm looking sort of two 4.5 which are from other teams, Konsa, and the second one I think Livermore or Newcastle will come to that as well. But then it becomes a free slot where I can upgrade either a Munoz or to a Porro. So that's what I'm looking at.
yeah.
We'll quickly
Um,
look into their attack as well before we move on.
I
There
think
is
let's just touch upon their goalkeepers as well. There's a
yeah
couple of options
yeah
who are being considered. And if I do think one of them is nailed, then Anderson makes way to another 4.5 asset in my team, say Konsa. And I would take the goalkeeper slot for either Henderson or Johnston. Johnston was the first choice for most part of last season. And then when he got injured, Henderson came and took the place. So it will be interesting to see if
which
Johnson's
one's
back fit, how his preseason is, or his Henderson stars or Johnson stars. If that looks certain, then that goalkeeper is worth considering. Any other points to add to that?
No, I think it's a wait and watch for me because I'm not sure who'll start. So I think you've properly summed it up. Whoever starts probably will be a main choice consideration that you should look at.
Yeah.
Moving on to their attack, that sort of everyone's interested. Eze is in everyone team, and it justifies why. But I have slight concerns. I don't know if you like have a similar sort of thought process in that. With Olise gone, I don't think it will just be down to Eze, and now it's not that easy that he will cut inside every time. He will try to dribble inside. He will have to take up the more creative and stable role as well in the team. He's sort of linked to other clubs. That could be a scenario that we should just not think about right now. Let's just think that he's at Crystal Palace. But that's sort of my concern. Even saying that he's in my team and he will be by till the end, there's no doubt about it because his stats shout that. But what do you think?
I think Crystal Palace would be interesting to see who they replace Olise with. Definitely you can't. It's not easy to replace the talent Olise is. He is like a superior player, and replacing him will be hard. But it would be interesting to see who they replace him with. But regardless, I feel like their setup is really good for Eze to still excel. Their midfield too. I think if Dokore is back,
Yeah.
who has been pushing for them. Dokore is back and plays along with Wharton. That's a very solid midfield pairing. And they have fullbacks who will be pushing up. So Eze will be taking those pockets. Eze will be not sticking to the line. He's not a player like that. He will be taking the pockets, and he is a player who likes to take the defenders on. So I do expect him to continue in the fashion he does play, and I think he will be on penalties with Olise not there anymore. So I think
Yeah,
as a
that should
90
help him.
penalties, 7 million, brilliant asset, nailed on in my team right now. And with the fixtures, I don't see many reasons me avoiding
Yeah.
or looking past as it.
The only discussion, the other discussion, I think he's nailed on. But would you pay 0.5 extra for a Mateta is something I'm deliberating. My only reason to not is because we don't have any other great options to replace him at 7 million in midfield. I think at that price bracket, he's the best, and he's probably the only sort of that good in that category. Whereas in 7.5 in attack, you have options coming up. You have sort of a Tony. You can go down to a Richarlison. There's Chris Wood. There are other options. That's sort of
It's
my
also
thought
the
process.
Yes, it's also the cheaper of assets in striker,
Yeah.
right? The 6 million, and like you mentioned, the Chris Wood,
The
Muniz,
Muniz, yeah.
and Joao Pedro, Adam Armstrong, all assets worth considering. And with that being the case, I think Eze does look like the person I will give the nod ahead of Mateta. But Mateta finished the last season with 9 goals in his last 6 games. So a double up in Crystal Palace, which I have thought about, is not a bad option either. If you're confident that they will continue the way they're playing, because the fixtures are there to be taking. And you do see Mateta, if he continues that form, will be a great option as well.
Just that you said the double up on them. Let me just go back to the fixtures and see. Uh, you have Brentford, West Ham, Chelsea. Those three sort of mixed bag of a games. Let's say it's good. United, Everton, Liverpool. Do you really think there's a case for a double up? I personally think it's going to be low scoring. Although they'll score in all games, I really think that they're a good team. They'll score, but not high scoring. I don't think half of these games would be 2.5 goals plus for Crystal.
Yeah, probably not, but I think their attack is capable of like contributing there. They scored 5 past West Ham last year. They can do the same against Leicester. They scored 4 past Manchester United last year. I mean, probably expect a different team, or Manchester United team this time. But still, there are home fixtures where they have performed, and it's not like Brentford and Chelsea are not scoreable against. They are teams that Crystal Palace will continue to try and push up and try to score the goal. So I don't hate the idea, but I currently, due to my structure and the other options in the forward, I am currently ignoring Mateta. But it is an option worth considering.
Okay, we'll leave that up to the audience. But I really feel that I personally wouldn't have gone there, even if I'm given the choice. Even if they start sort of well in the Brentford game, I'm really hesitant about it. We'll quickly move to our third important and sort of the top team that people are considering and talking about, which is uh, the Newcastle team. We'll look at the defense first quickly, and then let's start with the Newcastle defense. What do you think? Their top two players, obviously, is as of now Trippier and Burn, but Trippier would be out. He's most likely gone. That's the news right now. And Livramento comes in at 4.5. What do you think about that?
Yes, I think Livramento is too good to not be starting for Newcastle. I like whenever I've seen him last season, whenever I've seen him in the past, he is a quality player. And even if Trippier is there, I think like I would expect like soon enough for Livramento to take over the place at left back and like have it with him, like
Yeah.
be nailed for that. So I'm not sure if Burn is an asset to worth considering as well. But Livramento, if Trippier leaves, especially, does become like a go-to 4.5 asset because of his attacking caliber and also sort of hope that Newcastle go back into being a solid defense
Yeah,
with
that's
all
sort
their
of the
players
hope.
fit.
Yeah.
With all the players fit, I think that is a real possibility. If not for the levels they were last season, at least to a good level where the 4.5 assets have a clean sheet potential with them in the good home fixtures as well. So they are. I am looking at Livramento especially, and also with the Trippier news, like it does look like a very interesting thing that could happen in FPL this year.
Yeah, it could. And so I personally, for me, it's either Burn or Livramento. If Trippier leaves earlier, fair. Otherwise, I stick to Burn. And I sort of have him nailed in my team. But I'm looking at other options. Obviously, as you said, Crystal Palace could be an option. If I'm not going Munoz, I'm going Poro. Maybe I could go Anderson at 4.5 instead of Burn. That's what my thought is right now. But again, as I explained, I'm really unhopeful of a clean sheet. So not sure where should I land. I think I should probably trust the Newcastle defense and move on.
Southampton is also a fixture. I don't see like a definite clean sheet. They have been attacking well last season.
Yeah.
So it's not like they have fixtures. They have 3 away games in the first 5, and then Tottenham and Man City in the first 6. No, sorry, like 4 away games in the first 7. So
Yeah.
I don't see too many clean sheets there. So that's my concern, and I would like to count on a defender for a long term. So only asset is Livramento. Other than that, I'm not considering Newcastle defense.
Yeah. We'll go to their attack because that's sort of we have to discuss them. But here I have their stats pulled up. Just, what do you think?
So yeah, I mean, I made a reel last week where I was discussing about the nail picks. If you guys haven't, please head into the Instagram and give it a watch. But yeah, so the 3 nail players I was talking about is Gabriel, Eze, and Isak in my team, and I think the number 1 player in my team will be Alexander Isak because of how attacking he is and how like the big chances he gets, the underlying data he has. If he like he when he became nailed, as soon as that you see him being a wonderful asset to have. And we have been seeing this trend with Newcastle for the last 1.5 years. So it's not just a short-term thing that whoever with whether it's Wilson, whether it's Isak, whoever has played at strike has had unbelievable underlying data. Their like expected goals per 90 has been through the roof for the last 1.5 years. So if Isak does look like he's going to finally be nailed, and he's one of the best strikers in the league right now, and Wilson is more into his 30s, and he's probably in a phase where he will be less used. So Isak without Europe, I think, yeah, great option to have.
Do you think
And
Isak
on
is sort of
penalties,
limited to 70, 60, 70 minutes like we saw at the end of last season? I think once Wilson is back, that could be the case. I'm starting with him right now, but I'm just keeping it at the back of mind. If that happens or if that continues to happen, I might switch to Watkins, depending on form. But I think for now, you should definitely start with Isak. I don't think there's any hesitation to say that.
yes, I think it's also the ease in moving away
Him
from
out,
Isak
yeah.
to the other strikers. You can go point 0.5 more to Watkins. You have options 7.5 options with Tony, with Mateta, with Darwin, and come much lower. You have options as well. So you have places to go around Isak. So with the fixtures like in the first 2-3 game weeks, I think Isak is a nail, and Isak is like one guy I see if he's through on goal, I'm confident he'll score.
Yeah.
So that sort of like assurance also you have. There are players who have been in your team in the past who go through on goal, and then you just don't know, and then like if he misses, very frustrating. But with Isak, I think he's a brilliant finisher
Yeah,
as well.
I
So
agree. It's the second position that I'm considering, Gordon or not. Some people are doubling up on them because they have sort of good fixtures to begin with. Southampton, Bournemouth, Tottenham to start with. I am not going that side. I have sort of other players in my team right now. But are you considering Gordon as an option, especially with Barnes in there? He's fit. Almiron could be there. Jacob Murphy is there.
I mean, I don't see a threat in the rotation because Gordon last season that
Yeah,
was a trend. It was a trend where he would be doubtful just before the match and just like appear in the match, play 90, score a goal, or get an assist. I think he had a brilliant season last season, so he's definitely an option worth considering. 7.5, he comes at a good price as well. But for me, currently in my Haaland draft, he unfortunately doesn't make the place over there because you will have to look at like your cheaper 6.5, 6 million, 5.5 midfielders if you need to have a Haaland and a Salah draft, which I'm currently looking at. But if it's a non-Haaland draft, then I probably fit Gordon in. I think, especially early on, given how reliable he's been.
okay, I fair. I mean, I agree. For people who have Gordon, there's nothing to stop them to, but it's just a thought that uh, maybe there are other options to consider. It's also probably the price point. It's probably Eze, and depends where you're going in terms of attack. I think it's a good team to double attack on. So fair with that.
Definitely, yes.
We have a couple of teams left, which I want to talk. First, let's look at Brighton. They're bottom of the ticker between the five teams that we're looking at as of now. Overall, as well, they're sort of pretty low. Their fixtures are Everton, United, Arsenal. Ipswich is fourth. It's decent. Nottingham, Chelsea, Tottenham, Newcastle. Do you like the fixtures to even consider their attacker? Is my thought as now.
I
Even their
do.
defense actually.
I actually do like their fixtures. I think they are bottom of the fixture ticker because of the game fixtures after game week 6 to 8, and before that they only have like a hard fixture from an attacking point of view is Arsenal away. I think their fixtures outside that Everton away, Man United home, Ipswich home, Nottingham Forest home are fixtures you can count on your Brighton assets. Man United
I'm not
maybe a
sure
little
about
less
maybe United and Everton sort of seem tough to me now. United have
fair.
improved their defense massively this season. They've sort of done the signings. Everton are generally good at home, so
Yeah,
that's where
and
my concerns are.
Brighton towards the end of last season dipped in their attack as well. So, my personal view is their fixtures are better than they look. That's the only thing. But they don't have assets that appeal to me. But they could be a team that you could eventually count on as well because they have assets at a very good price point that can emerge as enablers. You have Joao Pedro at 5.5, the most popular asset of the team. You have Minte, who they've signed recently for 30
Yeah,
million, I think. 5.5 million again. He scored in the preseason game as well. Who does look like another exciting asset. But and if Mitoma like is back fit, he at 6.5 could also be a asset worth continuing. But it's the same problem with Brighton midfield again. So they have They have Adingra, they have Enciso back fit. Sooner or later, they'll get March back fit. Then it's a rotation problem with your midfield, with your strike. And there are players who are one game away from getting benched, one bad game away from getting benched. So, yeah, that's definitely a factor as well with Brighton.
Yeah, and I agree. And I personally don't like them. None of them really have a big chance per, even close to one when they come per 90. I really don't like such assets. I also am not an advocate of their fixtures, to be honest. So for me personally, it's a no go. Even with the defense, I really think maybe you can look at the defense. Is my only approach to the defense is look at preseason. Their manager is known for defensive stability, how they play from the back. If that is good, then maybe you can consider a couple of players because they come in cheap. But the rotation risk is just too high to even get them in your team at the start of the season, especially when there's like 5 transfers people can bang. They'll have a larger sort of bench. It's unnecessary. And this season, I think the start is really important. So you should probably not go behind on that.
The one thing I think favors Brighton is that trend of how they played their football, from a good attack, bad
Yeah.
defense, to a good defense, bad attack. And with being a good defense, they would fit in the same bracket as the new manager, Husler. Husler, I'm sorry with the pronunciation, but he is known to be a good defense. He has done that, shown that with clubs in the past. So definitely considering their defense, Dunk at 4.5 is a good option, good set piece threat. And Barco at 4 million with the uncertainties around Estupinian, and also the talent that they've looked at in Barco. So these are the two options that have come close to my team. I've
Yeah.
not looked at any of the other options. But Barco at 4 million, I think if he starts, he's a definite enabler with being an attacking left back. So that is definitely there. And I mean, if he doesn't play, it's fine. You can just bench your 4 million asset and keep him out. But there is a thought around Barco, and like he is a common template for 4 million pick as well. So, but yeah, Dunk is another thought. Is the Brighton double up in defense makes sense if Barco is anyways your 4.0?
Nah.
I don't know. So
I
it's
wouldn't I wouldn't
it's
I
a
wouldn't
thought.
recommend it. I would strongly advocate against it.
Definitely yes. Because I mean the fixtures are
Even
not
the
great
options,
over.
and like at 4.5 you have better options. You can look at possibly Newcastle, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, all of them at 4.5. I really don't think you should go down to Brighton. That's personally what I
Fair
feel,
enough.
and there's no reason why you should consider them. We're
Yes.
reaching the
Yeah. Fair.
35 sort of minute mark, so we'll wrap this up quicker. I feel we've one team left, which is West Ham. Personally, this is the only player I'm considering. Obviously, is just Bowen, who's remotely not even made to my draft, but it's the only player you probably want to look at. What's your thoughts? Have you tinkered around him?
West Ham is a team in transition, and in Lopetegui, it doesn't. He's not a very like active manager. So he also sometimes seem to be a little passive. He's not like an attacking spree in West Ham that you look at and worth considering. And the fixtures are very mixed. They're not like fixtures I'm confident about. Aston Villa home,
Yeah.
Crystal Palace away, Man City home, Fulham away, Chelsea home. Not the best of fixtures, and Brentford home as well after that. So because they are not the best of fixtures, I'm sure that you can dodge the West Ham players, and also there's a lot of unknown as they go
Yeah,
in.
there's a lot
But
of
the
unknown.
only name other than Bowen, I'd probably throw in is Kudus as well. He's another player who's a brilliant player who can who can overperform very easily with the way he plays and the style as well.
He did decent given his appearances and minutes. I think he was not that bad on XGI per 90 in big chances per 90. Obviously, it doesn't compare to Bowen's output. If you're considering, you can consider those sort of two players, but I think it's a wait and watch at least till game week 6 where they play the tougher teams. Then they probably transition into a sort of Ipswich. Then they have Tottenham. They have sort of easy fixtures coming in later on. So it's probably a wait and watch team. Let's see how the manager sort of wants them to play. It's really depend on that. If they go back to the old West Ham where they just want to defend and like see games out, see more draws, only sort of attack the smaller teams and the small like lower level teams, that could be a thing that they have done in the past. I wouldn't really be interested in that case.
Yes, definitely. I think they are not a team that you would want in your team earlier, in your FPL teams early on, and especially given the big list of assets we were discussing about
Yeah.
who are in the same price. So I think Gordon is ahead of Bowen at the moment. I also think Eze at 0.5 million cheaper is ahead of Bowen.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's
Before,
not,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, it's not the like, yeah, as you said, I don't think they are early on an asset to be considered, and definitely someone you have to keep an eye on because they have quality players.
Okay. Before we wrap on, just quickly, two questions. Rank them top three defensively. Which one should you prioritize, and attack-wise priority? So for me, I would prioritize the Aston Villa defense, then the Newcastle given the fixtures, then Crystal Palace, and in attack, I would again prioritize probably the Newcastle attack first, then Aston Villa, then Crystal Palace.
Defensively, I will look at Aston Villa again first, I think, and then Crystal Palace, then Newcastle. And in an attacking sense, Aston Villa is first. Actually, Crystal Palace is first, then Aston Villa, then Newcastle.
Oh,
But
that's sort of different, yeah.
it's as an asset attack. But looking at the players' caliber, then
Yeah,
like you have to look at certain players over the others. So like Isak is definitely a better asset than Mateta, and maybe even Watkins.
yeah.
So
My thought
that's
process was probably selecting the players. In which order would you probably select players from? So for me,
um,
it's Newcastle on the top. But fair, I understand. We had like sort of an extensive discussion. I think there's a lot of important and key sort of takeaways from this video. You should really focus on certain players. I think Eze, Bowen, that category of players, whether it's Isaac in the same price point, Watkins, all of these are really important decisions that you need to make, especially combined with Salah or Haaland or even both. You sort of have to cut down on a lot of things. I think that's where this video will be more essential and important.
yes, yeah,
Uh,
definitely important teams to
yeah,
just look at and consider. In through your season, I think three teams: Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, will be constantly in your thoughts.
yes.
Constantly, you'll be looking at the fixtures, looking at the players, looking at the assets, good prices. So yeah, excited to see these three teams click again this season.
Yeah, really excited. On that note, we wrap up with this video. I know it's sort of a longer version of this, but I think it was important. These are really essential teams that you want to even probably go back and sort of look at this data and look at the thought process here. But we'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share our content if you can. It really helps us grow more. It really helps us to get in more video. You see, there is a lot of video content coming out, even on Instagram and YouTube in terms of shorts and reels. I hope you guys like it, and see you guys in the next video. Cheers.
Cheers.